I'm calling this presentation itself the challenge of water conservation, because till date it is challenging still. Though so many things have been achieved, still a challenging space. Most of your cities, whichever city you live in, this is what you see in most places, right? You don't know if it is a dump of garbage on a water body, which could be a lake, which could be a well, or just piled up garbage in some space. You often walk past it and you keep thinking that, can I do something about it? Or, oh, it's filthy, it's dirty, and we have this frustrated look on our face and walk away. Or some people go to the next extent, take a picture, and now, Twitter is very popular. You put it on Twitter and you think your duty is done, right? But it may be right in front of your house. How much action are you willing to take, or what is the time you want to volunteer to this? Because all of us, we have seen our potential through COVID, right? Each one of us, directly or indirectly went out there and helped somebody. All of us have done it. So there's no exception in this. So when we do this, why don't we do this for our environment? Why don't we spare that little time, at least a thought process, okay, what this could be and what is it? So this is one of my recent explorations, I would say. But the next slide will tell you what I found. Can you see? Isn't it amazing? I mean, it's a heritage structure. It's a heritage water structure. Water oozing in it at 25 feet. We saw water gushing out of it. It was a huge challenge to go down to 53 feet and remove the garbage. Every day was risky and challenging. But why would they fill this up to the brim? Hundreds of tons. This garbage we removed was 2,000 tons of garbage. That's a lot of garbage, right? So it kept getting filled for how many years? Almost 40 plus years. People remember somewhere in the 1970s, they saw this. After that, they've not seen. So whatever settlements around, they don't even know what it is. And the first day when I went to ask them, they said, we don't have a parking lot, madam. So we are leveling it up and we're going to do a parking lot. And there were already 4 encroachments on top of it. So no value for history, no value for how you live. You live in, environments where it's filled with garbage, whether water or not. You just don't care about what's happening around you. You don't take that next step. But see, look at the treasure that came out. And today, I would say today I went to this well in the morning. It's filled up to 32 feet, clean water that's oozing out. There's no rains, nothing down. But just imagine what it was earlier. I can't even comprehend that feeling, what was there before. So like I said, my journey started with my own house. So this is our house in Gachibowli, which most of you in Hyderabad would know. It is the central business district in Hyderabad. And most of the homes and communities here are very, very tanker prone. Now with the Manjira pipe connection and people paying crores of rupees and getting a bigger connection, use it in flush and everything else. So that's the new normal now. But still, crores of rupees is, just in this area, crores of rupees is spent on tanker buying every year, just in 4 to 5 months. So this house, when I built, you see this courtyard, you see the picture on top. This entire courtyard is a rainwater harvesting sump. So this sump can store up to 25,000 liters of water. There's nothing technical about it or nothing, no rocket science, just every rooftop pipe, the down pipes, which is concealed in the wall, goes through a filter. I thought it should be long standing and I should be able to use it like a water bank. When there's no water, I should use it. So it passes through a simple coal and pebble filter and goes into the sump, and it's a large sump. And what you see as a water body on top is just a small water body to cool the space, when it in summer and stuff. So it rains on top also. Whatever rains here, there's a drain here. Again, it goes to a recharge pit outside. And whatever gets collected in the sump, you won't believe some days 18,000, 20,000 liters also has been collected into this sump in just one day of good rains, which we call cloud burst or whatever. So also we did recycling in those days. 11 years ago, when I started thinking rainwater harvesting, I thought 85% of our recycled water, wastewater also can be recycled. So we got hold of one guy in Pune Because in Hyderabad, I didn't find anybody to do an individual house recycling, gray recycling. So we did gray recycling pipes separately, piping, plumbing, and then got this guy to enable gray recycling. So we started growing plants. We love a lot of greenery. Greenery, we didn't use any fresh water or rainwater. We only use the recycled water every day. About 400-500 liters water easily we get. We have a garden at the ground level, and we also have a terrace garden. Terrace garden, I didn't, somehow that mindset, right? You don't want to use recycled water. Of course, recycled, it's not recycled only to a certain point that I can use it for plants. But here we are eating, we are growing. So I thought I should use rainwater. So I used to use this rainwater from here. Every few months, anyway, it gets filled with rainwater, and so I used to top it up and keep using it. So by doing this, now I don't know if I was sustainable or not. It was a wait and watch game. So first year we didn't need tankers. Second year we didn't need tankers. Third year we didn't need tankers. Today it's almost 11 and a half, yeah, almost 12 years this June. We haven't bought a single tanker yet. Now we've had weddings in this house. We've had people living here for 2-3 months also. We still didn't buy a single tanker. That means as an individual, in the first few years itself, it proved something to me that we can become sustainable for water, very less manjira water also. And this recycling water is taking care of all our domestic needs in a certain way. And RO waste and all that also, I started using it for vessels and stuff. So our water usage, when you see, we didn't need too much water, on a daily basis. Most recycled water, and whatever bore supply the colony gives us every 2 days, it's more than enough for us. And slowly started working on our community, which is a 100-home community. When I saw this success story, I was little confident that, okay, in our community, where all can we tap water? So, because as a community, we were buying tankers and distributing water from the overhead tank for almost 4 or 5 months in a year through tankers. Now, I wanted to work on that, and we achieved that also. The last almost 7 years, as a community, we don't buy common tankers and have put it in the overhead tank and distribute. Once in a while, there are people that buy tanker randomly, but very few, hardly any. And in our colony, if you use water sensibly, you don't need a single tanker at all, even today. And 2016 was a turning point where it was a harsh summer, and most colonies around us, even the 1100, 1200 apartment communities, were rationing water. If you know Gachibowli and L&T, Green County, near the Urdu University and stuff, they're very close to where we stay. Ramki, and all of them were rationing water once in 2-3 days. So most people, most friends, instead of bothering about work, they were bothering about how to ration water, how to use water, how many people will take bath today, what is it, So it was that kind of conversation, which was very different. I mean, we never heard of this. But in that 2016, our colony went through summer and beyond without buying a single tanker. Now that was a turning point. I said, if 100 families can become sustainable because of the efforts we put, and luckily for us that time, the committee was very, very open-minded. They took it, accepted, and they made it happen. So it was easy for us to enable. And me and my husband both became part of the MC committee to make all these things happen for the colony. So that also helped in a big way. So once the colony, individual home and the community became sustainable for water, then there was no looking back. Then the thing was, okay, I must take this knowledge out. But I don't know much about rainwater harvesting other than what I've done here. Though I'm in the, design and build field. So I started attending many, many rainwater harvesting workshops conducted by ASCII, by the government, by individual organizations. I started learning more, and that's when I started understanding a little bit more about the city and its water. Where do we get water? And I understood it like a little story that initially in the 1920s, 30s, we depended on two natural water, man-made water resources, where we used to fill the Musi River, what we call fresh water from the Musi. Used to, there was a dam that used to get water into these two water resources, which were enough for the whole city, which is called the Gandipet and the Himat Sagar today. So we moved basically from 30 kilometers, and in 1908 we had huge floods, and around that time is when they built these resources. So from having water resources within the city, we moved about 30 kilometers. And in the 1970s, we moved to the Singura and Manjira river. So from there, we started getting water. And by the time it is 2004, we moved to Nagarjuna Sagar, which is 120 kilometers. So 30 kilometers and 70 kilometers and 120 kilometers. We were done with phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 not being enough. By the time it is 2014, we already were at Godavari and Krishna beds, which is 180 kilometers and 200 kilometers. And today, of course, Kaleshwaram project also we get water. Again, it's around 200 kilometers. So the point is, we have been traveling for water. Instead of making our city sustainable for water, like how we have done in our own house or community, we've been traveling for water. And is this sustainable? Is the first question that came to my head. How far are we going to live like this? In 1970s, if you see, Hyderabad's population was only 17 lakhs. Today, not very far from there, in 2020 or 2022 now, our population has already touched 1.2 crore and beyond. And in the next 30 years, we will double up as a population. So how much of river water are we going to get to cities, and how sustainable are we even today? Even after Niti Aayog declared that Hyderabad is one of the cities which is going to run out of groundwater in 2020, we didn't run out of water, but it was an alarm. Most communities that come to meet, even today as a social enterprise, we go meet, we give solutions. Many communities where the borewells hardly work and the water is at 1200 feet, 1400 feet. I don't even know if it is what kind of water that you are getting, but this is how it is even today. So from my community, slowly I started going into my own projects, because how do I take it forward? So the best way was my own clients, my own projects. So there are a lot of, factories or some spaces in colleges and some pharma companies where I did some work for. Everywhere I started talking about rainwater harvesting and enabling them to do, sensitizing them, and a lot of success stories came out. Then as a design studio, slowly from our designing interiors, we were actually started designing and understanding how to design rainwater harvesting, reuse and recharge methodologies for in different challenging spaces for different typologies of buildings. What if there is very less space? What if the foundation footing is too close? How does one do rainwater harvesting in such things? And maintenance, if you see 85% of the pits today don't work simply because people don't maintain it. It's like not fit it and forget it. Every year you have to maintain it. And people are so lazy even to maintain those little pits. But if they don't maintain, it doesn't work. So instead of going on giving this awareness, maintain, why not give maintenance free solutions? Like how they do it in Germany, how they do it in Korea. Why not we bring these modular methods? So I started exploring. I found a couple of Indian make companies who actually went to Germany, studied their models, and are doing these modular rainwater harvesting. So modular rainwater harvesting is nothing but, instead of a collection pit, it's a recycled high-grade plastic which is converted into modules. They are clipped together, and whatever digging that you do around borewells or just rainwater harvesting that you want to do, it is just wrapped with geotextile. It goes under the ground, and you backfill it with a little bit with sand, and then you just backfill and you can grow something on it. You can put it under a road. So this seemed interesting, right? Only the desal chamber or a small filter chamber needs to be maintained. So it's a no sand, no gravel method, and it's very easy to maintain. So this method is good for builders because they don't want to lose real estate space. So what is that winning solution? And coming from an architectural background, we were able to give such solutions to builders where we were integrating it with the landscape, we were integrating it with the internal roads. How do you capture water on the roads? What kind of slopes and what is a bioswale? So we went into a little deeper understanding of how solutions can be created, how it can be least on maintenance, because that is very, very key. Because you can do anything, but if it is high on maintenance, nobody is going to maintain it. And even if you see today inside the apartment communities also, you see rainwater harvesting pits as garbage bins. You see plastics, you find all kinds of things. Means there's no respect or priority to these things. It should be taken up for cleanup. It should be guarded. None of these things happen. So what if it is in the ground and fit it and forget it model? Maybe this works, right? So these kind of solutions we started building on and understanding different, again, range, right? Costs, you can't give only high-end costs. And how does a low conventional model work with least maintenance? So we started exploring those also. And so started building a range of solutions. While we were working on that, and individuals in our network, friends, and that, we started spreading the message. And that's around the time which I became a core member of an NGO called Sahi. And they said they wanted somebody to lead water initiatives, and I was ready to do that and slowly took on to it. And not just rainwater harvesting. I said rainwater harvesting, the largest catchment is our lakes and wells. Why are we ignoring those? These are also rainwater for you, very useful for rainwater harvesting. So I took up a lake very close to my community. Honestly, I didn't know, I knew nothing about lake restoration. I just knew, like an architect, that how I can map the lake, how I can understand where the inlets are. And I thought this is very easy when I go to the revenue department or when I go to GHMC or water board. By now, working as an NGO and creating awareness with some government faculties, I realized that this is possible to connect with them for various things. So I started connecting with them. But when I started actually working on the lake, I realized that the lake has several ownerships. If you go to the municipality department itself, it comes the revenue department, sanitation department is connected, then the town planning is connected, and all of these have different agendas for the lake. And then you have the irrigation department and the water board, which is responsible for the stormwater channels, responsible for the sewage channels. None of these departments, I spent few months on it, none of these departments had any footprint of where the sewage lines are entering the lake. And I spent time opening more than 40 to 50 manholes around this lake, finding out where all is it connected, where is this sewage coming from, which building, and how is it leading to the lake, which nala is getting connected to which building, and how is the sewage. Because in my head, if I didn't understand the problem, how do I bring a solution? Because the problem seemed two things initially when I looked at it, that a huge amount of market waste every week comes, and fish, chicken, vegetable, right royally, they throw it in the lake. And in fact, the first day when I went and saw the lake, they were throwing right next to me. I said, Endandi, the lake, isn't it a lake? And why are you dumping it here? Madam, there's no other place and we have to remove it. And I failed to argue with them, but I couldn't say much, but I was seeing that outrightly they're dumping. The next day morning, I go, one villa community, some puja or something happened. The whole thing in 2 drums, they came and just dumped it there. And in between, you see all these puja saman and this and that coming and dumping. Then I found everything from syringes. And syringes, when I understood that there's a small nursing home there. And they don't have, and that's when it was so mind-boggling to me to understand these small nursing homes actually don't have STPs. They don't segregate, they don't recycle. So blood to fetal, to any kind of thing will be going into this drain and reaching these water bodies. So it was very disturbing to understand these things. Though this lake had only sewage, there's luckily no chemical effluent. But a week, 2 weeks later, I went and saw there's this oil floating on the lake, engine oil kind of a thing. Then I understood, okay, what is this oil coming from? Then I went to a service station nearby. The service station guy says that I have an STP. He opened and showed everything. The next day when we were driving, we saw an STP going there. And in front of my eyes, I saw that they were heading towards a, manhole near the lake. So I sort of connected the dots. So this guy must be the engine oil and whatever washing that they are doing. They are actually dumping it into manholes around the lake. So I started solving each of these problems by going and talking to them, taking photographs. Sometimes communities share pictures, but community gathering was another big challenge. You know, everyone in this community, I don't live. This is adjacent to where I live. What is your agenda? Are you a politician? Are you a government? Are you going to encroach the land? These are the questions, but none of them are bothered that somebody is coming to even say that I'm going to make this lake happen. So that's not important. But what is she going to do with the lake is very important. So a lot of negativities, lot of things, challenges. But I started every day go back, and the many days when I have cried also, I'm trying to do something good with this thing. Have mapped, have opened manholes, have solved so many issues. I'm trying to sensitize people. But even after all that, the first cleanup, you won't believe, at least 400 people I would have talked in parks and communities and all that. So at least not 20 people, I didn't have a huge expectation. 20 people might probably be coming for the first cleanup. We got the gloves, we actually, designed rakes, how to pull this heavy duty garbage from this. And we went to hardware shops, we figured out how to make these rakes, metal ones and that, and everything was ready. Nobody turned up, only me and my supervisor was there. Then we thought should we just, he just said, shall we just go back? I said, no, let us do, we decided, let us do it. So when we started doing, then of course, few people just joined us that day. That day it hit me that if people are not connected, this is not going to happen. I can get a fund, I can understand water quality, I can do all kinds of things. But if people around are not connected to water, that's when I started questioning myself. It is not just around the lake. Most people are like this, that they always see, as Indians, we have this habit of questioning everything and going to the rock bottom and analyzing everything. But there will be very few who you can count who will actually come on ground and do something. And that few that come also, the other negative, people who drive negatively, they sort of push them back in a certain way. So I had to, firmly decide that even if I am the only person talking, even if I have 1% or 2% today, it is okay. I don't need 100 people to support me. So that 2-3 people I found, started working on solutions. And I had a great connect with the local zonal commissioner. I didn't know her at all. I just walked in one day and I said, I'm doing this lake, and looks like I have to coordinate with so many departments, and you as a commissioner is the highest authority here. So it will be great if you can, and I'm giving my time and stuff to this lake. Would you come forward? So she started, also doubting me that, okay, like you, many people come, many people meet, many people say, I want to work on a lake or so. Then after that, it all fizzles out. So she was little, not so, but she said some few encouraging words and sent me. So I said, okay, fine. This is good for a beginning. Then when I had to connect to these departments, there were 3-4 manholes which were overflowing sewage and directly falling into the lake. This has been happening for more than 2 years. And this sewage were also flowing into one small Katamazuma Temple. They say Katamazuma Temple is nothing but small temples that were built on bunds of lakes. They're like, protector of that water body, right? But that temple was actually beyond the road, because even the road was encroached, and the lake was encroached, the road was laid, and communities around it. So slowly I started understanding I have to work with people who are on wrong footing to do something right. So it is very, very challenging, and most of them don't know they are on the wrong footing, don't know that they are in buffer zone, don't know that. Many people argued with me, our sewage is not going into this lake. I had to open several manholes to show them. So then I started creating a drain map, and I started thinking that decentralized action. Now, let me go to every community and say that, I took water samples from bore wells, I took water samples from the lake. I started showcasing that your bore wells are also getting black water. If we remove the sewage, at least what you're sending into the lake, it's not enough that you've sent your sewage out, but it is coming back to you as disease into your bore wells. So if we can undo that, at least 30% of the sewage that is coming into the lake can be undone. This took 1.5-2 years for me to convince, but three large communities came forward and they actually agreed to remove the sewage lines and to get them into this legal line and hand holding them to through the government process. All of this I took time. In fact, I went ahead and even tried to convince the builders who have done this, but of course they didn't play any role, and they were so irresponsible, they didn't even respond. And because again, people suddenly they have to put so much money each apartment, it was a challenge. But I'm so happy and glad that these apartments finally understood and they came forward and they undid that. So lot of challenges in this lake, but lot of learnings. How a community behaves, what is that change? So one thing I understood, I mean, I'm sure all of you are battling some water issues. Any community, if you take 100% may 80% will be people who say, who don't react to anything. They will not say yes or no. There will be 20% who will be either saying that this is right or this is wrong. In that 20%, there will be only 2% who are completely negative. If you can change that 2% of people, you have the entire community on your side. This is something I figured out. It took a long time for me to understand this. So for me, while working on the lake, while doing water conservation in different sites and understanding that we are saving water as individual communities, I've in a platter, what I understood in my head is high urbanization population, right? It's growing population. So this is 2050, our city, and it is doubled up from what we are today. And I'm sorry, I don't have that map, but it is it's going to double up for sure as development and also as a population. More than 80% of our municipal limits is already over extracted for groundwater. And there is no 70% of our sewage is untreated, and it is in our lakes, it is in our wells, it is in our nalas, it is all around us. So if we didn't recycle, we go through these things where we think it's not a problem, but it is a problem. It is coming back to our borders, and we are spending lakhs of rupees in the hospitals, not knowing why we got this disease. But little bit care, little bit understanding, and some money had we put into our environment around us, we won't be spending lakhs in our hospitals. And urban flooding, the cycle of buying tankers and not being able to control these urban floods. Of course, added to this is climate change. So because of climate change, huge amount of rains, and you are not able to capture these rains because we don't have enough water bodies today. Some 3,000 water bodies became 1,500, 1,500 became 300, and 300 today is only 185 lakes in Hyderabad. And each lake was 20-25 acre lake, has become a 8-acre lake, a 90-acre lake has become a 22-acre lake. So this is a common story of every lake, where I don't know why is it that real estate guys are only interested in lake encroaching lakes. This is, I think, very common in every city. But my point is, if as a citizen, if I'm aware that I am the first one and that I'm the first building to get flooded in any flooding situation, I will not go and invest in such floods. I mean, imagine if nobody buys around buffer zones or around lakes, the builder will not build anymore. They'll not be encouraged to build. So anyway, this is the crux of the problem that I understood. And here are things that I thought are problems. A, lack of awareness. You may be educated, you may be, thinking you know the world, but you don't have a simple thought process of how to manage your water. This is rainwater, your water at home. You don't know what your resources are. You're still connected to only the tap and the tanker. You're not connected to resources of water. What are the natural resources? You are not connected to it. As long as you're connected to tap and the tanker, you will never find a solution for water. And most of us are in this zone. Lack of strict implementation. Yes, it is mandate that every building should have rainwater harvesting pit, but it is not implemented at all today. And government does not have the capacity to, work with communities positively. And the moment government is involved, they all put a back footing or see some other agenda there, and which is mostly the case. And then you don't want to work with them, and you always see something else, so you don't. So, and lack of strict implementation, because one guy will come to check, and that guy can be easily managed. So again, who is that person who is going to double check it whether they have done rainwater harvesting? And lack of end-to-end service providers. Everywhere you find this seasonal rainwater harvesting people who come and do something randomly. There are very few who are genuine, who do it scientifically, who understand the strata, who understand what is a shallow aquifer management, what is a deep aquifer management, where to do, where not to do, and what kind of building typologies need what kind of solutions. Nobody has a clue. Most of them don't have a clue. So there is no end-to-end service providers as well. If you see this lake, after working a lot on this lake, I understood that we can create this unique model where government, NGO or a social enterprise and the communities can, if we come together, all three parts, then we can achieve something. So government did a lot of things as in digging the roads, desilting, because there are many manholes under the road. We found that manhole and asked them to open it up. So the government helped, wherever we require. Every cleanup, about 48 cleanups we've done. Every cleanup, they have come, the sanitation department made sure, and removing the hyacinth regularly. So we enabled a lot of things that the government has to do, which they were not doing actually. And then slowly you started seeing water from a garbage floating lake. The moment you saw water, birds came in. Now this is something very, very simple, right? When there is water, you will see a bird life happening. But when there is garbage, you cannot see. So very simple things I understood, and it was so fascinating to see how nature was responding the moment we were cleaning up. And you see these colonies, they removed their sewage lines out of the lake. Instantly, 30% sewage was out of the lake. Today, of course, we are battling more sewage coming in the storm line, and we are figuring out solutions to take care of that also today. So it's a different battle, but from 12 inlets, I was able to get it down to one storm inlet alone, made each community remove the illegal line and that. While doing all this work, now one guy who was putting up a building completely on the other side, right at the lake, somehow he got permission, but he was not in the buffer and FTL zone, so we couldn't do much, but he happily put the sewage new line into this. Now communities became a vigil, they became like a social fence. So they put it on the group that somebody is putting a sewage line. The next day went with the government departments, tried to remove that line. Every time I go there, something happens, they get some call, they come back, they say, Madam, they put to bill, let's do it tomorrow. And none of the commissioners are answering this question, even after putting photographs on that. So I understood there is a heavy political connect here, and nobody wants to touch this. Then, literally fed up, I went to that building to understand what this building was used for. So it was getting ready for OYO rooms. Then I wrote a mail to this OYO founder in Delhi. I said, look, I have put years, at that time it was about 2.5 years of work. A lot of work has going into it. Can you help me as a responsible startup? Can you help me with this? So immediately I got a response within few hours. He connected me to the Telangana OYO head. He said, I'll get him to talk to the builder and tell him if you do illegal drain, we will revoke the agreement. We will not have the agreement for OYO, and OYO will not have any connect with this building. We'll revoke the agreement. If you do a legal drain line only, we will accept this. Within 3 days, we were able to remove that entire line, and that guy had to dig 100 feet and got permissions and did a legal line. So my thing is that every problem has a different solution. You have to think at a different solution today, and you can see that I didn't have to touch the politician who is already supporting something wrong. What kind of conversation can I have with him? I didn't even go to the builder, but I found a solution and it worked. So same problem need not have same solutions. We can have different problem, different solution. And even the lake cleanups, I had to be so innovative because cleanup is not something everybody loves to come and, they just come like 1 or 2 times. That here we are talking about 40 plus cleanups or 50 plus cleanups. Kayaking and cleanup, where they will drag something to the edge and then kids and, parents would come together and move it. And then they would get to kayak here with, a lifeguard and all that. So that was exciting for the kids. So we had different types of cleanups, different mindsets, right? I also understood a lake is something that connects the entire strata of the society, a very high-end home, middle class home, a slum guy. And what I should talk to these different people has to be very different. The slum guy, we had to talk to them in such a way that we help them, and then they help us back. But if you go to a very high-end community, I have to talk technical stuff. I should have a 3D plan of the lake. I should, reimagine the lake, and I have to rethink the precinct. There's a lot of other conversations. And when I go to a middle class or another apartments where, the mindset is, why are we doing this? Can the government not do this? Why are we even, putting our time in this? Why it is government's duty? We are paying taxes. They should do it. So different mindsets, different problems. But I understood one thing, that we can't take a ready-made solution and tell people accept this solution. There's nothing called public opinion in this country, but we honestly working around these water bodies should create this stakeholder engagement by understanding what do they really want. They're not wanting something because they have a block, understanding something, or they have faced some issue earlier. So we have to go to the bottom of that and try. And that's how these kind of achievements, were possible to happen. So slowly I started connecting with, RWAs in that thing, about 7, 8 colonies around the lake, where constantly year after year were flooding and a lot of contamination. Because if communities around lakes do a lot of rainwater harvesting, the sewage water will not get in. First of all, it is getting diluted in a big way. So the contamination levels come down. Urban flooding can be avoided because already there is flooding. And then if it mixes with sewage water and if it backflows, we are creating more disasters and throwing pathogens all over the place. So with all these kind of awareness, making sure they do rainwater harvesting, constantly taking their borewell samples and showing it to them that this is the water that you use. So sort of building a local solution and telling them a local problem, and not telling, okay, the city is suffering water, so let's do rainwater harvesting. No buyers, no takers. They're not going to take that idea. So, and also constantly talking with children, students, because they need to understand what is water in reality. They are in a very cushioned world. They don't even know what is what. And then they are making projects. They are understanding water in closed classrooms. So I started bringing them to these lakes and wells and having conversations with them. You won't believe this simple thing I understood. If you tell a problem to a child, the next thing is they are talking solutions. If you tell a problem to an adult, they're only analyzing the problem and never coming out of it. This was a learning for me. Any child you pick, you talk about any problem to them, they will be talking solutions. So this is a idea that they should build on even as adults, solving problems in their neighborhood, coming forward and taking up something in the neighborhood, being a doer. Instead of that, now most youngsters I see sitting with placards and telling climate change and let's fight for it. I don't believe that placard movement, right? I believe in give the child a street, give the group of children a street, tell them that these are the issues, how you can sensitize, how you can build solutions, how you can work with adults and make things happen. Then they are fighting climate change, not with placards. So that placard culture, that slogan culture, enough of that. That's not going to work here. Here, our population is huge and diverse. We need to create solutions on ground, and that's what we'll talk tomorrow. And religious institutions, there are a couple of temples that I go to. I started talking to them and the trustees, and because you keep connecting with them whenever you go to temples, right? So there was a good connect. I said, why not talk to them? There was a goshala, they were buying tankers. So we made sure that we did rainwater harvesting there. And he was so impressed. He said, let me connect you to 25 temples. Let them all do rainwater harvesting. And let us put a board outside these temples saying that this is the rainwater harvesting. We are saving so much water. So thousands of people come here. And slowly we started targeting churches and other, masjid and institutions. So because a lot of people come here, when they see a temple do something like this, the thought triggers. That's a trigger you create. Okay, I should also go back and do this. While temples teach a lot of things, and these are engines for change. I mean, you can channel these things through these religious institutions. So I saw a huge potential there. And then came these large institutions. So here you see these kids. They are from a school called Chire. All their 3 campuses. I was, friends with their founder, and I knew my kids studied in this school. So that was a great connect. So I started exploring what are my connects with different things like temples, schools. So school I was able to convince because both my kids studied here and they got out of this school. And I had a great connect with faculty, the principal, the vice principal, and also sort of knew the founder. So all their three campuses, working with them for 1.5 years, it has become zero discharge now. All three campuses and thousands of kids, and today they are zero discharge. And these school, all three campuses have sustainability groups, and they have created projects of these, achievements in the school for water. And we've had several conversations. We've done a lot of campaigns for eco-friendly Ganesha. And today, these same children are going to work with me on bioenzymes, which we are going to connect them to juice shops and get them to learn about bioenzymes, which put into lakes, and sort of create that engagement with. So they are connected now for years, and we are constantly doing one thing or the other. So if you see this, so we have to celebrate some success stories, right? Nobody talks about, it's not just my house. Then I started looking out and started finding some few individual houses or some corporates or some hotels have done some great stuff for water. And those are not, they don't come out in the open. They're not talked about. So I thought like these inspiring stories should come out. So there's this Triple IT Hyderabad, 2,000 students. Till date, they have not got a single tanker. They have done all kinds of rainwater harvesting, right from, having these kind of nalas where they have put gravel underneath, and this is constantly seeping in water. The overflow goes to a pond. They have constructed organic ponds. All these are simple solutions. And I taught them this drum method. I got a bunch of students and I said, let's do a drum method. A lot of downpipes in each block of the, campus. And we did a simple drum method where the water goes in, and beautiful greenery has come there. And there are each building has some 22 downpipes. So 22 drums, as simple as that. Got it. And all of them are working so beautifully. So simple solutions. Every time the solutions need not be expensive, but everything works. So these red dots that you see, these are all rooftop areas of one particular area I wanted to study, because maximum, by doing an RTI, we understood that this one particular area buys maximum tankers even from the government, which is about 4 crores every year in 4 months. Okay, this is called Madhapur. So in Madhapur, Circle 1 and Circle 2 together, they've spent crores on registered tankers. Unregistered tankers is many more crores. So let's say about 12-14 crores is spent just by this area. And this is a few kilometers stretch, and the population density is huge because a lot of hostels, a lot of moving population. So about, let's say about 38,000 to 40,000 people in 1 square kilometer. That's the kind of population here. So when we studied the rooftops, just with rainwater that they can tap, the entire population of Madhapur can survive throughout the year. They don't need any other water. When that is the kind of rainwater potential, why are we spending tens of crores buying tankers? So this just clearly shows our stupidity. So instead of, so at that point, I also started thinking about the macro level. Now I'm working at micro level. So what do I do in a macro level? So I started working with water board, and few of my friends came together. We made a team. We made a 60-day plan for the water board and said, if the whole city will be talking about water. And as designers, we thought the water board has a lot of these metal parts which are rusting in their workshops and, their sheds. We thought we should make artistic installations in every traffic, island. And it should, that few seconds when you look at it, you should think water. You can create these artistic impressions with, art colleges and stuff. So we had fantastic plans, how through digital media, through print media, and how government can announce a policy change. They don't have to make a policy change, but announce a policy change that if you didn't do rainwater harvesting, we shall cut your municipal connection or something. What they did in Chennai. We just said, announce this, it is coming in few months. Don't even, it need not be, because going through the policy change will take months, maybe years also. So we gave some few ideas and really workable ideas on how plumbers can become positive change makers. They can become ambassadors for change. Because if my plumber is very connected to my building and, he knows. So local plumbers, they know the communities. They are connected directly with people. They can go and say, if we train them, it is their livelihood also. They make some money out of it, right? And they can go and tell, madam, why don't you do rainwater harvesting, or sir, I know how to do rainwater harvesting, let me do it for you. And if they are technically challenged, we can train them at the back end. So all these things we gave. They were going to launch the project called Jalam Jeevam. Actually, we had named it also, but sadly it didn't happen 3 years ago. And they got back that whole initiative, I think, in 2020. And it was just in newspapers that this initiative and, large change for rainwater harvesting. Park was made. Some 2 crores was spent on that park. No change. I mean, hardly any change that happened. So macro level working, I have tried. We have really tried and put hours and hours, 3 months, literally morning to evening, we were working on this, but didn't happen. So my success stories is local stories and localities. Pick a locality, work on it, and create that change where you've worked on a temple, you worked on a school, you worked on a government school enabled with a donor, then you worked on a community, you worked on a hotel, you worked on a mall, then you worked on a hospital, right? Then you've created a certain pocket of change. So that's what I think is, I thought was a winning story, and working with builders, because in a certain area, personally, so many builders, making them do it. So while all these thought process and a lot of things were happening, I still thought this is barely enough to change. The crisis is too huge. The time is too short. And we are still not talking about a city-wide approach, it is happening in silos. One lake is getting rejuvenated. Maybe some 200 bores got revived by this time. We are talking to more than some 50,000 students we have reached in colleges and schools. We are talking with government and enabling some things. But still, that city-wide approach is not happening. What is the best way to approach macro level? We thought that failed miserably in many ways. So that doesn't work. So fixing one basin or one micro watershed at a time seemed to be the solution to chase. So we got a fund. I applied for a grant which HDFC had announced, and I won that grant. In fact, that final round was in Bangalore only. I was very sure I'm going to win it. I didn't have anything to show them. I just had a plan, a very big plan to make one area water rich. So what is that plan? And I told about my work in there. They didn't have any questions, in fact, and I thought they're not even going to give me the grant, and I was the first name they announced. And that grant I used to, work with a startup in IIIT Hyderabad, and they mapped for 98 micro watersheds in the city. And I said, just divide the city into smaller blocks for me, so I can work on this block. And each block has wells, each block has lakes, each block has a network of communities, so opportunities for common area, rainwater harvesting, all of these opportunities are present in it. So if we can create replicable model blocks, maybe this can be replicated anywhere in the country, anywhere in any city, in a village, anywhere. Understanding water and making water visible and making everyone work for this. It could be government, it could be any kind of. So this is actually the super block model was something that happened in Barcelona. They solved the city's traffic problem like this. They took a small block and they made the periphery of the block motorized, and the internal part of the block, they made it pedestrianized. So they solved the traffic problem. This block model, they took it all over the blocks. Of course, a block, when we say it's a clear square block in other countries, our blocks are not like this. And it is very organically grown. So you can see all kinds of shapes and stuff, but each one is a micro watershed. If I do an effort in this micro watershed, clearly it is benefiting that zone or area. So in crux, this is what it is, right? A block has something to plan. We need to plan the aquifers. We need to understand that zone. Maybe the strata is different. What is the kind of structures to be built? And you have these flyovers everywhere. So there's a huge water potential there. Then restoring wells, doing common area rainwater harvesting bores, building awareness is very much part of this block plan. And I call it a lake super block. So around a lake, start building it like a puzzle. So that's in crux what it is. So again, another grant came by and we were able to identify 7 colonies. We had money to do only 11 or 12 injection bores. We were able to achieve 30 because we sort of negotiated with communities. We will give you 2 for free. You guys do another 2 or 3, and you maintain all 5, right? Reverse bore wells or rainwater harvesting structure. So we were able to negotiate, and we may double the impact. You won't believe so many colony presidents who I don't even know have called me and told even the boards that are not working are working great because of the interventions that we have done. Now we are going to ask our colony to take up in a big way and do. So all those are happening, and constant awareness, hand holding technically, understanding the strata, and many people have rainwater harvesting. Why it is not benefiting them? We have to answer that question also. So showcasing them, understanding the strata, and also at a local level, we started working on a very detailed scientific plan as to what is the rainwater that's coming, what is the wastewater that is generated, and what is getting saved, and what is getting thrown, and what are the different types of water in this block, including piped water supply. Put numbers, once the moment you put numbers, you're very clear what is the problem and how to take care of this. So we are trying to do that. So now that again needs a grant. We have to put a few watershed experts on it. So we are on that job right now. We will be starting that work March. So our idea is these 98 blocks will have a plan, will have an understanding of water, and we want to put it all together in a mobile water museum or something. I don't know who will fund it, but somebody who can fund it. It should be a touch screen thing that I go to any community, they should be able to touch their building and understand water in the zone and how are we managing, and all the numbers of what are the, what is the situation of water, and what is your potential, and what you can do with this much water, and how you can benefit, how many years you can, you can benefit if you do something like this, all of this. So these are the fits that we did. So based on whatever money we had, we did that. But this year we got another small grant. So all of this, we're going to change it into modular pits, and these cement ring pits, which we've already done, we're going to make 2 or 3 silt traps, because now we've understood how much of silt is actually happening on each of those roads. Huge amount of construction happened, then flyover happened, then this and that. So how to take care of this continuous flow of silt, and the rainwater harvesting will not even be seen now. It will be covered, and you'll have some creepers or grass on top of it, because every rainwater harvesting pit in the common area will eventually become a dirt zone, will eventually become a garbage zone. So this is what, and this is the first block. This is about 10 square kilometer. Let's say we worked seriously around 4.5 square kilometer. Huge success. Even if we don't do 100% of this block, which we want to, even if we do 30-40%, we've seen huge success. So this is what it is. So well restoration, lake restoration, these water structures, and also understood this one inlet into the lake, again from the Nala, a lot of garbage. So what is the point of going on cleaning up? Instead, we built, with a drain screen engineer, we actually made this custom made stainless steel drain screen, got a fund for this, and understood what is, because the quality of water in any block is equal to the amount of garbage in that block, because every time the water flows is garbage. That's the quality. So the catchment, the healthy catchment is a healthy water quality. So we understood what is the garbage that's coming, and went on all the streets with communities, sensitizing, showing photographs about these are all the things that you're throwing in this nala, and this is coming at the lake. The next time anything you throw, you will be fined. And going with the government authorities and talking to these. So a lot of garbage throwing has stopped now. And, otherwise fruit crates, everything used to go into the nala and get into the lake. So now the lake is literally 98% garbage free. The habit of throwing has stopped, and this whole nala thing that brings garbage is also stopped. So creating clean catchment. Can you see the difference? These 4 pictures will tell you what is the difference, right? From here to here, when it is leached water and it's black water into your bore wells, compared to this, maybe not drinking water, but at least green, gray water, let's say, with, constant treatments and solar water, solar powered aeration, minimal treatments, keep putting bioenzyme, because you have continuous flow of sewage. So there has to be continuous recurring treatment. So what are those cheaper treatments which community can pick up and do? So creating a lake protection committee for the first time in the country, which is a registered body, just like an RWA. We got this lake protection committee registered, so people are serious about it. We created a bank account, and today I'm so happy to say few communities are contributing towards this small things, the greenery management. Then I went and spoke to the government. This is what communities are contributing. You haven't given a rupee or you have not contributed so far. So they signed off on a 13,000 or a 15,000 monthly that is going to come into the account for some sort of maintenance here. And they enabled that every week, every 10 days, they're going to remove hyacinth, they're going to remove garbage. So the sanitation department is informed. So there is a continuous follow-up because you have to make it sustainable. And when people put 1 rupee into something, they are bothered. They want to see what is happening with that 1 rupee, and they are slowly getting involved in this game. And this well also that you see it was a complete garbage filled well. We removed, and through the 2020 floods, more than 35 lakh liters from the street that you see, this street is sloping towards this well site. And 150 meters around this well was a complete garbage dump. Other than the well is in such a bad condition. Equally bad was about 6 feet garbage around this. So we were able to continuously engage government faculties to keep removing. While we did this, it took me 6 months to convince them that this is a well and you cannot put a road on this. There was an approved plan to make a road happen on top of this. So my sense was somehow, and they were all busy with COVID, right? I sort of convinced them, so just allow me, I'll do it and let's see about your town planning thing when it gets approved. My sense was once we find water, once we show a success story, once it is in media, there's no question of filling up this well. So slowly after this thing, they came forward. The government, the Jal Shakti also, some people visited this well restoration. And the government actually did a fence so that no garbage throwing happens. And they did this Harita Haram, greenery on this entire 150 stretch. So it is not just us doing, involving communities and making government do, slowly arm twist them into making something, make it a winning story for the politician also. Earlier I used to think the politicians are the worst people to work with. But if you can showcase a winning story for them, they will come around, they will put the money and they will make it happen. You can make the initial step and they will follow. And around this time is when I also started.
Sorry to butt in, Kalpana. See, there are a lot of questions our participants would like to ask. If you can complete in another 3 to 5 minutes, it will be nice. We'll have more time for question answers.
I will. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So basically, as a social enterprise, also I wanted to bring this change where I'm giving solutions, where I'm doing this implementation also. So rainwater project was started and we were incubated by the IIIT Hyderabad, and AIC Niti Aayog actually funds this program. So started doing it in institutions, sites, resorts, started showing them success stories of how they can do it, and small units, how you can recycle black water or gray water, large institutions. So yesterday we went to a government college, a 6-acre college. They're also going to take up and do right from stadiums to apartments to communities to small and big industries, builders. So started working with many people, and then wells we took it on a war footing, because every time we find a well, within a year we are not finding that well anymore. It's getting filled up and built upon. So these are all success stories of well restoration in the last 2 years. We did as a social enterprise. 70% is commercial projects and 30% is always a social project which we invest in and bring funds and make it happen. All of these 6 wells were from garbage to a functional well today. We also create the footprint. We create a book for each well where we talk about the learnings, the challenges, the drawings, the geotagging, and understanding of the urban fabric in that and how it can help them. Like this was next to a masjid. We told them that you are water intensive and how it worked, a goshala and how it worked. 2,000 cows and they were buying tankers, and today they don't. And another well, and how you can create rainwater parks out of it, rain gardens out of this. And this is the well I showed you earlier in the picture. This is happening. I also started working in peri-urban areas and district collectors who are willing to take up this change. I said water anywhere is water. So let's start working on those and creating some winning stories for them. And the work we did in Naranpet, actually tomorrow the Jal Ministry is going to give them an award, and they've also asked me to take part in that, because literally from day one to the last day I was with them working. And parks as rainwater harvesting zones, this Bangalore has done it beautifully, and creating swamp parks around lakes. And we are given a lot of pilot solutions for this problem of rainwater harvesting under flyovers. And of course, huge level of awareness. Here you see a municipality commissioner who came forward and gave social auditor cards for uh, champions in that area, because I said, let these people only go and inspect who has rainwater harvesting, who does not have an STP, and all of this. So when people start questioning people, then there is a change, right? So, but they can't just go and ask. So creating these cards with the commissioner's signature, they have the right to go to any apartment or anywhere and question these things. All these, I mean, including plumbers and that, I have already told you. I think that, yeah, that's the end of the presentation. So